I'm going to be giving myself 100 days to complete my goals in Minecraft JOJO'S BIZARRE ADVENTURE. It's DIO, going from human to vampire to stand user. Let's begin with day 1. I spawned in a pretty decent place, I won't lie, with some buildings around me which I could definitely use later on, but nonetheless I started off getting wood, as one does, and I managed to somehow get some dogs angry. Best believe later on I'm gonna cook one of you or something. Not for any specific reason, but it is how it is. Luckily, check this out. I was so good at dodging wolves. I felt like I was Goku. I was Ultra Instinct. Check this out. Look. But after that, I just started getting some sheep because I was going to need the food and wool for beds, etc. to try and skip the night. Since at the moment, I'm a human. I'm not a vampire. So it doesn't really matter. Anywho, I started making some tools since right now, I am again just a human. So I'm not strong in any way. I'm going to need axes and swords and anything I can get my hands on to become stronger. Which I was clearly correct in doing because the first place I went to was filled to the brim with just pillagers with bows and stuff. And I did die. I didn't die, but I nearly died multiple times. Despite this though, this place had such good loot that it was completely worth it. It had like iron armor and leggings and swords and slime. I ain't gonna use the slime, but it had like coal and iron and things like that. I didn't have to go mining. It was so good. But eventually night fell, which meant I could finally get some sleep. My second day was spent just making sure that sheep weren't a thing anymore. I just killed so many sheep, it's kind of sad actually. But I did find this I found a big house. It wasn't anything special, honestly. It was like a 3-4 place, and there was like a basement with some huge like crocodiles, which scared the hell out of me, by the way. It was terrifying. Turns out there's like a spawn underneath the wood part, which if you break it, everything stops. But there's so many silver. I went back up top, and none of it was worth it. After getting out of that disappointment of a building, I found this little hut, which had again more coal, iron, armors, which I spent a long time trying to figure out which like boot was the best. It took me way too long. It's kind of embarrassing, but you know, I got it in the end. So I soon after found like more buildings, which was ideal because I had so much good loot. And yeah, I didn't stay in that building very long. I did find a very nice looking villager. Never mind. Turns out that guy's a vampire, and he burns in the sun. It makes an unbearable noise. That's why you can't hear any sound right now. It's like a tuppet noise, if you get me. Kind of. Stop now. But I started getting some wheat again because I need food, and I found this iron golem giving a rose to like some villager stuck in a hole. So I made a little staircase for him to get up. He didn't want to use it though. If anything, more villagers took the need to just go and step on to there as well as a sheep. I don't know what's going on. I don't understand. I'm just gonna get. I did find this massive building, which I'm assuming was filled with just pillagers and stuff like that. I never really found out though, since I was sent on a massive adventure later on. Oh, yo, hey. Dude, what are you doing? Oh my god. What do you want? What do you want, man? What? You get it? Okay. That guy was weird. Later on, I found this house, which had like furniture and stuff in it, so I decided straight away, if anybody lives here, they don't anymore. I live here. I started offloading all my stuff, which was quite nice since this mod, especially all the things that you can get from all these houses, filled my inventory so fast. So it was nice to have like a empty inventory for once. And I named this place the DIO house, and nearly got it blown up immediately, so that's never ideal. And I just spent the rest of my day making bread again, because food's important. The next day I decided to go look around my surrounding area, and there was just tons of buildings filled again with just pillagers. So the village wasn't the safest. I took it upon myself to make it a safer place. And how do you do that? Commit murder. Upon climbing the tower, I found these two pillagers just like having a good old chat, so I again decided to kill them, as one does. And it wasn't really worth it. All I found was like a feather falling just set of boots, which I guess is kind of worth it, but it's not the greatest thing in the world. And I gave it a shot, and turns out it works. Happy days. I can't complain. I headed back home to get a little cool down since, you know, just committed murder, and then set back out to commit even more murder. I found this like stadium looking thing with some guards, and he was not happy that I was there because he came gunning for me, so I instead gunned him, and it was pretty embarrassing actually. But it gets the job done, so I can't complain. I also broke and entered into someone's house and stole all their golden apples and food. I don't condone anything I do in this video, by the way. Don't murder or steal. But nonetheless, I headed home and called it a day. The next few days, I kind of just spent the same thing, just going to different buildings, grabbing the loot, The loot wasn't the greatest. I found floating iron bars. I think I've seen enough. But this one building in particular was quite important. It was filled to the brim with just skeletons and spiders and pillagers, things like that. The dangerous place. I did, again, nearly die multiple times. And around the corner of this building was like just a get-together, like a party of just tons and tons of just things. It was so weird. It took ages as well to kill them all, but I did. It was like 3 levels almost. This was the scary part though. I found like a dark room filled with women and spiders, which is never ideal. It's something you just don't enter. But I eventually managed to clear it out after a huge fight with just poison and harming and spiders and everything you just don't want in a room. But don't worry, you don't have to do it. I did it instead. It was a horrible, horrible time. Turns out, the top floor of this building is just a monolith of just spider spawners and webs. So they're like infinite almost. So instead of going up there, I decided I'm just gonna block it off. Since, look at this, it's massive. I'm not dealing with that. I blocked it off and decided to look at the chests, and they weren't that great. It was like golds and books. But this book in particular, pretty good. The Joestar book. The Joestar Mansion. If you visit, please do not be disrespectful. How am I going to be disrespectful? Am I going to kiss your girlfriend or burn your dog? I wouldn't do that. Let's be real. I decided to head home and I found a villager in my bed. So I decided to have a good talking to him, in which he didn't like it and ran out the door. But it's fine because I'm going to chase him and keep talking to him. Alright, turns out he's a wizard. Never mind then. Okay. The next few days were terrible. It was so long. Like, look at this Z. 63,000. Are you joking? I was running for so long. And what made it worse was that there were monsters all over the place. I was getting killed by Nagas and stuff. Nagas, by the way, is that big green flying thing. Just so you know. But not having massive monsters to kill is just no fun, right? And these are really fun to kill. Mousie's mob, by the way, if you don't know. These are so animated stuff, it's just a lot of fun to kill. And luckily, you know, I'm so lucky, there was a second one. So, you know, even more fun. So this one was way easier to kill than the other one for some reason. It was a weaker, like, little brother or something. So, happy days. The worst part of the adventure was yet to come. I became a boat. How is this possible? I don't know, man. I became a boat. And look at this. Turns out, DIO just can't use boats. So, yeah. I have to swim like 40,000 blocks. So I got to it. And yeah, I don't even like, it's just horrible. It really is just horrible. I did find land eventually though, so that was nice. I got to like dip my feet in sand for about 2 seconds and then I was back in the water again swimming. I did find this like huge flying ship with a creeper from sniping range. I didn't miss a single shot. First time. What a legend. I'm so good. I also found this pirate ship and it had some great loot. Some wonderful loot. It was not a waste of time. But finally, I found the Joestar Mansion in some desert for some reason, but I'll take it. I entered in and I found just Jonathan. And he looks pretty good. He had like his sword pluck. It was pretty cool. There was a speed dragon and the Pelly, so you know, can't complain. I think they had a room in the Joestar Mansion, but I did, and so I checked it out, and it was, to be fair, it was quite nice. It had the clothes I was already wearing, but in 3D form, so I'll take it. It did look quite cool. So I quickly threw my stuff away and then put on DIO's clothes, and they do look really cool. Have a look at this. I have feet now, which is crazy. You don't have feet in Minecraft, but now I do. I tried to test Jonathan's patience, and he doesn't have patience, and it was kind of scary. He was chasing me, and he did a lot of damage too, so I ran to his room. And I found Jonathan's clothes in here as well. There's like a second pair. And have you ever seen DIO in Jonathan's clothes? Also holding a spatula. Have you seen that before? But yeah, I checked his drawers and I found the stone mask, which was going to be incredibly useful to become a vampire. I think you know where this is going. I made a knife and headed downstairs, but I did have to take off the stone mask because Jonathan might get a little mad that I'm stealing it. Just had to go some for a little bit, you know. Go check out the villages nearby. Okay. Now, I don't know if you can see where I'm going with this, but I decided to just get an idea for the culture with their blood. It was great. I did become a vampire. I had speed, strength, regeneration, and vampirism, which is just, you can't really walk in the sun. as well as this bloody stone mask. And I had rejected my humanity. But yeah, if you can hear this noise, it's just really awful noise. Imagine it way louder, that's why it's quiet, just so you can hear it. There were tons of vampires outside the JOJO'S Mansion for some reason, and they weren't friendly. That was kind of surprising, so I had to kill them all. But I'm the strongest vampire, I'm DIO. I had a look for everybody, and Jonathan was in his room, so I just took him out quickly. Upon taking out Jonathan, he had like some whole theme song play, and he dropped Pluck. So I took that and was going to keep it from now on. And then I stole his clothes. I killed Sapelli, and again, he was quite easy as well, but he did drop his hat. And then I went for Speedwagon, and this pained me to do, honestly. I do quite like Speedwagon, but took him down and took his hat as well. But if you're wondering, yes, I do definitely burn in the sun, and it does do a lot of damage. And I had nothing to skip the night like in Demon Slayer, so I had to just wait until nighttime. It was so painful. But despite that, found a chest filled with TNT, 2 stacks exactly. How ideal, right? So as one does, I decided to burn and blow up the entire mansion, and it's worked quite well. Night fell, and I again set on an adventure. I found some like ships and stuff, and honestly none of it had loot that I was too interested in doing. So I instead decided to go mining finally, since I hadn't gone mining till this point. And to be fair, I got quite a lot of good stuff. I had like some custom caves on, so mining was 10 times easier than it had to be. Though I nearly died multiple times, since mobs could spawn all over the place because of how wide these caves were. It was kind of like the new 1.17 ones. But I got some obsidian for another portal later on, and then found a desert temple with some pretty good stuff actually, and I got out first time. I went to the Nether, and this place was crawling with vampires, which makes sense honestly, since it's never going to have sun. So it was a smart place to be. I got some blaze rods, since obviously I need blaze rods to go to the end. And down this hallway I found Enya the Witch. Maybe it is the witch. The witch is in the corner, pretty scary actually. And these spider pigs were in like some cage. It was kind of terrifying to look at. I broke some webs around this barrel in the top right of the room, and inside the barrel was some diamonds, webs, and the world. Things are about to get kind of fun. I don't know if you heard that, but we just did do the world, meaning we can now stop time. And it's such a cool ability, and there's other abilities too, which I'll get to later. But I gave it a shot, did the world, and then I gave off a quick barrage just to see how things were working. Changed my skin too, so now I'm a fashion model, and happy days, let's get going. Turns out I'm never going to need tools again either, because I mined stone, dirt, granite, anything at superhuman speeds, and I had so much fun messing around with this ability. Everything that was moving was no longer moving and dead on the floor. Once I regained my senses, I decided just heading to the end, as I was supposed to do a long time ago. Why are you stopping the time for me? Look at me. What are you doing? I made it to the end eventually, and it wasn't too far honestly, not as far as the JOJO'S Mansion anyway. And oh, some silverfish. Let me handle this real quick. Okay, happy days. I plopped in the remaining eyes and headed right on in. And honestly, I had a harder time fighting this boss than the Ender Dragon. This Enderman was so difficult and like hard to understand his abilities. It was so weird, and it felt like he was immune to my time stop. But I heard no damage noises once I finished my barrage, almost like he dodged it while time was frozen. Which, is that even possible? I don't think that's even possible. So this was a terrifying fight. I used all my golden apples and anything I had just to try and survive, and I spent the entire fight on close to 2 to 3 hearts. This Enderman was crazy. It was so strong. But eventually, I managed to do one final barrage, which took the win for me against this mutant Enderman. And that fight was honestly so much fun. So fun, in fact, that showing the Ender Dragon fight was kind of just boring. I didn't even show it, because that first fight was way harder. My remaining days were just me spent just taking on all different mousy mobs, since these mobs are really impressive. If you haven't played it, you definitely should. But time stop on the Frostmaw worked perfectly. Every single hit registered, time froze perfectly. It was so cool. If there was an attack that was about to happen, I'd freeze it before it hit me and just reply with an insane barrage, which just took them out straight away. It was so cool. Okay, this should take him out, right? Come on. God, that's so cool, dude. That's so sick. I also took on the stadium, believe it or not, and this was, to be fair, kind of difficult, since they kind of just flung you around, which in itself was kind of a cool effect, since it felt like the JOTARO v DIO fight when they were kind of just flying around. It felt like that, because they could just send you flying, and it was really, really cool. They didn't really do much damage to the point where I was kind of afraid, but it was fun nonetheless just to fly around. I finally took on Baraka the Sun Chief, since, again, this is probably, I think, my favorite mob in the Mountie mob, and the world destroys Baraka. There's no chance he wins against the world. One shot. I one-shot the Chief, which is insane. But despite that, killing the Chief also gives me these cool little guys. So, you know, technically I have more stands now. Just these ones are physical. So, happy days. I came across this like castle, which I decided was a perfect place to live for Dio. Though my little friends couldn't get through the door, it was kind of annoying. But one day, I had some buff teenager shout my name. This fight in itself was really fun. Testing out if stands used against, like, if they worked against other people was really interesting, and it was just fun. We shared barrages, we did our different moves. It was again a really fun fight. But this time, Dio was not gonna lose. Don't get me wrong. This is 100 Days JoJo, but this is not the anime. I've had my stand for a very long time. I'm not gonna lose to some buff 16-year-olds who has anchor problems. Absolutely not. Though, to be fair, it did come very, very close. We shared barrages, we broke the surrounding area, which was going to be very hard to clean up. And after a while, he put out his own time stop, but it's fine because I've already stopped the time. I slowly twisted his body around, and it was quite a painful looking thing because I kind of twisted his neck, and the fight was over.